It is my joy to be with you this morning and to be leading this worship service with Al DeSalvo and also with Ann Brandon. This, I think, is the 10th summer service that I've done, because it was about 10 years ago that I retired from full-time Unitarian Universalist ministry. And during those 10 years, Al and Ann, either one or both of them, have been in every one of my summer services, which has been so special because each of them offers so much in the way of spirit and creativity and life and love. So I'd like to really thank both of them for being part of these services during this past decade. The other thing is it's also wonderful to only have to do one sermon a year as a minister. When you're used to doing 30 or 40, to only have to do one is such a treat. But then the pressure's on because you're only doing one, and it better be pretty good. So I hope that all the preparation time that went into this service this morning is worthy of the time that I had to prepare. So let me begin with the opening words that are by Sophia Lyons-Foz. Sophia Foz was a religious education leader within the Unitarian Association after the World War II, a significant figure in our history. Here are her words. We gather in reverence before the wonder of life, the wonder of this moment, the wonder of being together so close yet so apart. Each hidden in our own secret chamber, each listening, each trying to speak, yet none fully understanding, none fully understood. We gather in reverence before all intangible things that eyes see not, nor ears can detect, that hands can never touch, that space cannot hold, and that time cannot measure. I had just left being the minister of the First Unitarian Church of Chicago, which is one of the few significantly racially diverse congregations within the Unitarian Universalist Association. One of my favorite couples in the congregation were Alex and Norma Poinsett, and they gave me a book 28 years ago called Push Back to Strength, A Black Woman's Journey Home. So for 28 years, I have loved the title, but I have never read the book until the past few weeks. So the reading for this morning comes from that book, Push Back to Strength, A Black Woman's Journey Home. But to fully appreciate the reading and its content, it is important to know that Gloria Wade Gales was raised in Memphis, Tennessee in the 1940s. She writes, as teenagers, many of us were caught between our anger at white people and our respect for our black elders. When we complained to elders about our humiliation, they would exhort us to be strong and then tell us stories about their experiences with treacherous white folks. They put our humiliations in perspective. My grandmother, Nola Ginger Reese, could do that very well. Sometimes my grandmama's stories dulled my anger. If only for her, I wanted to fight every white person I saw. They haven't changed, Grandmama. I would tell her, they haven't changed. They're pushing us back always, I would emphasize, always pushing us back. They don't know it, Grandma would respond. They don't know it, but they're pushing you back to us, where you can get strong. Wade Gales goes on in the next paragraph to say the following. Black people of my grandmother's generation had no illusion about their lack of power, but they believed in their strength. For them, strength was total immersion in a black community grounded in values that translated into a sense of self. I don't know if you can feel the power of fire, the destruction of fire, the desolation in the aftermath of fire. That's happening on the West Coast now. Nature pushes back, and it pushes back hard against us for all kinds of reasons, known and unknown. Nature has a destructive component to it. But luckily for us, it also has creation. Life is destruction and creation. It is both. So when Gloria Wade Gales, in the middle of Jim Crow, is pushed back against like a fire, she draws upon the strength of life itself, and she allows herself to grow stronger, just like the plants and trees regrow after the fire has destroyed. Push is back to life. Luckily, she had a grandmother and a mother and a black community that believed in her, that allowed her to be herself and told her, "You are of value." So many of the people in our world, many people in our community and in the United States are pushed back because of oppression, which does not have to be. They're pushed back all the time. Wherever they go, they're pushed back, and they've got to find strength to keep on keeping on. No, I am a white male heterosexual. And in all honesty, because at least at one time I was 6'4", I'm only 6'2" now, I'm in the process of being a little bit less, but I was tall for my age. I could go just about anywhere in the world and not be pushed back against very much at all. The only really significant pushback that I've had in my life is being a Unitarian Universalist in the midst of those who are not. They love to push back because I'm a threat to them. But that's what privilege is, isn't it? Privilege is when you can do stuff and not be pushed back against because of who you are or what you look like or just being you. Yeah, during the Vietnam War, I was determined to be a conscientious objector. And I pushed back against the society, eventually getting that status after 2 years. I pushed back. But not too many times have I had to push back because the dominant culture said to me, "Tom, you're a man, you're white, you're tall, you got a deep voice, you're an athlete. Man, you got everything. We give it to you. We give it to you." That's privilege when it's given. I didn't earn it, I was born that way. Each of us that are gathered here this morning have been pushed back. You know you've been pushed back. No matter whether you are white or a person of color or any of the oppressions that might be in our midst, different kinds of people. But the question becomes, how do you respond? And where is it that you get your strength to respond? When you have been pushed back against in life, did you get stronger or did you get weaker? Did you lose some of yourself in being pushed back against? I'm aware that right now there are a number of people in the congregation who are being pushed back against for all kinds of reasons. They're just being pushed back. Where do you get your strength? Where do you get your sense of power? Where do you get your sense of being strong? I hope you get that sense and not that somehow you're less. In my late teens, I was trying to find myself, as often happens at that stage of life. I was asking the big questions, and one of them was, what is the purpose of my existence? Maybe we ask that all of our lives. I'm not really sure. And so I read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And I hadn't really looked at that book in decades. But I got a most recent copy of that book, and interestingly enough, it's reproduced or printed by Beacon Press, the Unitarian Universalist Association's publishing house. In the foreword, which is by Rabbi Harold Kushner, he writes the following, which I think is very powerful as he reflects on Viktor Frankl's book. He writes, "Forces beyond your control may take away everything you possess except one thing, your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation. Forces beyond your control may take away everything you possess except one thing, your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation." Frankl responded. He responded. We all have the power to respond. But it is clear that not everybody has the same sources of strength inside of them for a variety of reasons. One of the key points that Frankl makes in his book, and he quotes Friedrich Nietzsche twice, and pardon me for using male-dominated language, but that's how Nietzsche wrote. Frankl quotes this twice. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Or the person who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. It's so true. But as I'm going to say later in the sermon, purpose is not enough. Meaning is not enough. It's important, but that's not enough. And Frankl actually got sources of strength from other than Nietzsche. He got it from his family. So I ask you, why do you exist? Why do you exist? What is your purpose in life? Name it. Tell it to a loved one or a friend. Tell them, why do you exist? What is your purpose in life? And once affirmed, draw upon what Nietzsche understood is that the why to live for can bear almost any how. But as Unitarian Universalists, we know that purpose is not enough. Not enough. Our Universalists, forebears, and those that have embodied that inside of themselves today understood that you cannot make it without love. You have to have love if you're going to make it. That is what underscores Universalist theology. The love of God, the love of others, the love of self, the love of life. If we're going to be pushed back as is indicated in our reading, we've got to have love. And if we take Frankl seriously, which we should, we've got to have purpose. We've got to have both. It's also said, you hear it all the time, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Well, there's a lot of people that are dying right now in the pandemic and in the world. They're dying because for the lack of food, or maybe the lack of housing, or not good health care, or various forms of oppression, they can't live, and they're dying. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Now, to this, I say yes and no. We may get weaker as we're pushed back against. We may not get stronger. Look at what we're learning in the pandemic. The loneliness, the disconnection, the addiction, the suicide, and the fact that the average length of life in the United States has dropped by 1.5 years in the last year. That's not by chance. We've been pushed back. Some have gotten stronger, and some have gotten weaker. So, based on my experience, what is it that really makes the difference as to whether, when we're pushed back against, because life is going to push us all, as we know it has, and it will continue up till the day we die, what do we know as Unitarian Universalists about life, and about faith, and about religion, and about what this is really all about? Because it is the way that we respond to life which is at the heart of our faith. It's not that we get pushed back against. It's not that we're not going to fall. We all do that. The question is, how are we going to respond, and with what resources? So I'd like to offer several of what I've learned about my experience when I've been pushed back against, or when I've fallen. What is it that has made a difference? And first and foremost, it's a fundamental belief that I am not the center of the world. It is not all about me. I live in a world that's so much larger, which I am a part of, which I connect to, which I draw upon, which sustains me, which is creative. Yes, it's destructive, but it's creative. There is a larger presence of which I am a part. And with humility, I accept that, and I affirm that. Secondly, I am lucky to have people in my past, family, mentors, friends, people in history, stories, as well as people in the present who have modeled for me, how do you come through? How do you make it? Think about Mandela, think about Dalai Lama, think about Theodore Roosevelt or FDR or Susan B. Anthony. Think about the people that have come through that you draw upon in order to give you strength to be able to deal with being pushed back against by life. I have my faith, Unitarian Universalism, that's been with me since I was 2. That's now 70 years that it's been with me. I have family, amazing family. I can count on them, not all the time, but some of the time and in some ways. It's like everyone's family. Luckily, I have some really good friends. I have this congregation and other congregations and other colleagues in Unitarian Universalism. I'm not all alone. I have the arts. I have the arts. Other night listening to Yo-Yo Ma at Tanglewood with Emmanuel Axe and a violin player that I can't remember his name now, but he was amazing. I mean, the arts heal. The arts heal. They heal us. They give us strength. And nature. Just think about going into nature, doing the walks, or maybe it's swimming, or maybe it's, I don't know how it is that you connect with nature, but nature can give us strength. What have I missed? I know I've missed a number of things, but think about it. What else do you know gives you strength that when you're pushed back against in life, that you, in fact, will be able to respond? Yeah, we're pushed. And yet most of us, most of the time, we get up. I can remember when I was a young guy and I was the captain of the patrol boys. And I had to fire one of the other patrol boys in 5th grade. And he says, I'm going to beat you up. And he came, and luckily I was a lot bigger than he was. And he pushed me. And I just stood there because I didn't want to hit him. I grabbed a hold of him, put him up against a tree, and he dropped to the ground, and I walked away. That was the end of my being. I was pushed back, but I knew that I didn't want to hurt him. It's happened in life for all of us, where we've been pushed back, and we come back, and we give what we can with our strength in order that we might respond. But the most important message that I can offer this morning is not that we're pushed back and that we fall and that that's life. Yes, we know that. Life teaches us that. I mean, Buddhists teach us we all suffer, right? We all suffer. But we all have the capacity to respond. But even more importantly than the response, which is critical because it's our response, right, is to know that we are not alone. We are not alone in life. We have much that we can draw upon. There is an otherness greater than we are. There is history and stories. There are people. There are communities who are on the journey with us if we are open to them. If we're not, then the loneliness sets in. We hold ourselves like this, and we begin to decline. We get weaker. This is the sign of weakness, right here. Weakness. Trust that in the face of the toughness, adversity of life, that there's something larger than yourself. And allow yourself with a kind of softness in the pain to be open to that, because when you open to it, it will give you strength. It will heal you over time. And it will give you hope. So be it.
An important way we celebrate life each Sunday is by offering an opportunity to practice generosity. Members and friends support our congregation with an annual pledge paid throughout the year. Another way to support the good work of this congregation is to make a generous contribution by way of the options that will be shown on the next slide. You can click on the tiny URL link in the chat window to contribute, or you can send a text to the number shown on the screen. The examples on the slide below that will show you how to label your text to indicate the amount and the purpose or the intent of your gift. During the offertory, we will hear Toccata in D minor by Johann Sebastian Bach. Again, our musician on the piano is Ann Brandon. Guest or a visitor and would like to tell us who you are and where you're from, you can click on the raise hand symbol. Depending on your Zoom version, you'll find the raised hand symbol either in the participant window or in the reactions button on your Zoom toolbar. Our technician will invite you to unmute and introduce yourself. You may also, or instead, click on the visitor link you'll find now in the chat window. Do we have any visitors?
I'm looking. I don't think I see anybody.
Okay. Thank you and welcome to all who have joined us today. If you'd like to learn more about our congregation or about Unitarian Universalism, you can find in the participant window someone with a welcome before their name. This will ask, you can reach out to that person privately in the chat window now or after the service.
This is the time, set aside in our service for sharing significant personal milestones in our lives. There are 3 ways to share a joy or sorrow. The first option is to type your joy or sorrow in the chat window. Put the words "read aloud" at the beginning of your message if you would like us to do that. You may please also consider connecting privately in the chat with a pastoral care associate. I'm Sandy Stone and am the pastoral care associate on duty today. I'm identified with PCA in front of my name. The second option is to click the raise hand symbol found either in the participant window or under the reactions button. Our technician will invite you to unmute yourself and speak your joy or sorrow. The third option is to submit a joy or sorrow using our website by noon on Friday prior to the service. We'll begin by reading those that were submitted this past week. Then we'll hear the spoken joys and sorrows, followed by the chat entries that are to be read aloud. We received one message this past week from Betsy Wright. I will be moving out of my rental on Thursday. So she's taking a moment to send this last week. After 10 months, I am back into my home after a 100-year-old oak fell on her house October 7th. It was a long and stressful 10 months with ups and downs, pleasures and pains. But the house looks great, and I'll be glad to be back. Thanks to all for your kindnesses and good thoughts.
Okay, I'm going to try to see if I can do this. Oops.
Good morning, everybody. I was just wanting to say, as the world is heading back in the direction of more face masks, I decided that I needed to upgrade my face mask wardrobe. So this week I Googled UU face masks, and I'm happy to report that there are hundreds available. Etsy alone probably has 99, but I found this one that I love that I ordered from the Marin County UU Church north of San Francisco. So I brought it along to show everybody.
Ooh.
Oh,
Wow.
So they have several different styles, and the proceeds from it go to benefit the congregation. Highly recommended. And it has a pouch for putting in an extra filter. So,
Excellent. Thank you. Jay, let's go with you.
Good morning, everyone. So I live here in Bethlehem, Del Mar, as most of you know, and I've been a part of a project where we were working on really increasing the visibility of diversity in Bethlehem. And part of that project is in our local, I guess you would call it a newsletter called Our Town. It's mostly an advertising vehicle for local businesses, but it has interest stories of local interest. And there's a feature called We Are Bethlehem, and I'm this month's featured We Are Bethlehem. So if you're in Bethlehem and you got your newsletter, flip to page 19, you'll see a familiar face. And so just wanting to share that the work in increasing visibility of people of color here in Bethlehem continues.
Thank you, Jay. Phil, can you unmute? Phil Rich? No, he's still having problems. Chris, let's go to you. If you could unmute.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I have 2 joys. First is having a wonderful in-person circle dinner last night with a conversation that just covered every topic that you could imagine. Second joy, for those of you following my work on a contraceptive vaccine, we had a breakthrough last week. We were able to block fertile mice from having little baby pups 7 out of 8 times. And we are, as a lab, going out to celebrate tomorrow.
All right, great. Thank you. Phil, one last chance to unmute. Okay. Well, maybe you could put it in the chat for Sandy, and we're going back to her for the chat.
How about
Joyce,
Jackie?
I'm sorry.
Did you see Jackie Williams?
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed Jack. She appeared and disappeared.
Oh, I'm still here. Hey, this is Jackie Williams, and I have a variety of joys, but my major issue I'd like to share is the sorrow that my grandson may or may not, I don't have a confirmation that he's actually entered Conifer Park for substance treatment. So the joy is that he decided that he doesn't want to live chasing something that's not giving him much joy any longer. My sorrow is that I didn't drive him there personally, so I can't confirm, but I'm hopeful that he did choose a place to go to get help of his own volition, and I'm just waiting to hear from him and to see him afterwards.
Okay, then I will start with the read alouds, and we have one from Julie Johnson. I went in for a prenatal test on Friday, and baby was not moving and had concerning test results. They sent me over to St. Peter's for an emergency C-section. I was 34 weeks pregnant. Surgery went well, but baby was born anemic, not breathing well, and very pale. She was rushed to Albany Med NICU and is doing much better. Please send love and healing energy and prayers for baby Gabrielle Charity Johnson and also my recovery. Hopefully I can be discharged tomorrow and reunited with my precious baby. Thank you, everyone. And we are indeed praying for both of you. And from Barbara Spink, my vaccinated daughter has recovered from mild COVID. It was like a cold. And from the Standfasts, my son Henry was here for a visit this weekend. He lives in Fairfax, Virginia. And from the Mannings, Chuck and Barb were able to spend a week with both adult children, their spouses and granddaughter at Glacier National Park after 19 months of not being together. They also saw Sue Walco, a former member of the congregation. And that's all I've got. Sam, do you see anything else that I missed? For all the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken, let us hold all that we've heard and felt in our hearts.
Maybe too late.
You were good. And Phil just said maybe too late, so maybe he's available.
Am I able now? Can you-
Yes.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Phil Rich, and the reason I'm chatting with you today is I am struggling. The pandemic has caught up with me, and the trauma of it has caught up with me. So that is, the psychological aspects of the pandemic have caught up with me. and it feels very strange. I'm going to get some therapy on Tuesday. There are good things happening with the love tantra that Reverend Sam gave me, and that's helpful. But it is very difficult to cope with this feeling of something, pushback. So I'll just think about what strengths I have that keep me going. Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead.
Let us take a moment just to pause and be aware
No, mute currently.
of all that we are grateful for in life, all the joys. Whether it might be the joy of moving back home, it might be the joy of being together with family after a long time apart.
Somebody muted.
It might be the joy of gathering with others at dinner.
Muted us. Really? Cute. Okay.
It might be the joy of seeing your baby breathe after such a hard time. It might be in seeing your grandson get help. It might be in recovering after COVID. It might be the joy of ordering a face mask that has the flaming chalice on it that you can walk around with and just enjoy. It might just be some basic health after a time of challenge. Let us be aware that we exist in a much larger universe that we affirm but also respect. Let us be aware that everything is connected, that all that we do and that others do affects us, that all of nature, all of life is connected. Every one of our sorrows is another person's sorrow as well. They feel it. Your joy is their joy. In this congregation, we pray to affirm that we are not alone, that no matter how hard life can get, that we are together, and that we need to be open to that otherness and to that love, but we also need to be able to give it as well. Ultimately, we all need hope. Life is not easy. It is not a garden solely, even though the beauty of a garden is all around us. Life is tough and tender. May we take this affirmation into our hearts, and may we share that with others. Amen. So now we'd like to sing a song by Carolyn McDade. Carolyn McDade is one of the unique songwriters of really the 20th and 21st century in Unitarian Universalism. A Unitarian Universalist who chose to be part of the Catholic Women's Order. She wove together her justice work within I call it Catholic Universalism, or Catholic Unitarian Universalism. And these songs, so many of we sing a number of her songs. Come sing a song with me. We'll build a land where we'll bind up the broken. And this song, Come Sing a Song with Me, they all come out of her Unitarian Universalism grounded in her Catholic order. We, as Unitarian Universalists, can find ways to hyphenate life. And we do it, in part, through songs like these. Come sing a song with me. So now we would like to extinguish the chalice, and the words are on the screen. No? They're okay. So then we'll say, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So I'd like to end with these words by Leonard Mason called Affirmation. We affirm the unfailing renewal of life, rising from the earth and reaching for the sun. All living creatures shall fulfill themselves. We affirm the steady growth of human companionship, rising from ancient cradles and reaching for the stars. People the world over shall seek the ways of understanding. We affirm a continuing hope that out of every tragedy, the spirit of individuals shall rise to build a better world. So be it.
Today, we'd like to thank our musicians, Ann Brandon and Chris Jensen, our pastoral care associates, Sandy Stone, our ushers, Dawn Dana, Sharon Babila, and Kathy Harris. And also our thanks to our welcomer, Elizabeth Barbarian, and our groundbreaking technical support team of Sam Trumbore and Dick Dana. Our office support is from Tammy Hathaway and Patience Perchette. And today I was the service associate, Al DeSalvo. Please stay after the service for informal fellowship with conversation in breakout rooms. Or, if you would like, you can remain in the main breakout room where Reverend Chulak will be available for congregational responses and reflections. Also, Albany Unitarian Universalist Society is hiring a religious education program assistant. If you have 10 hours a week for a fun paid opportunity to work with our religious education program, please email Elizabeth Baldus to find out more at the dre@albanyuu.org. That's her email. Also, join us at 10 o'clock next Sunday, August 8th, for Addiction or Spirituality. What's that got to do with it? What's Jung got to do with it? It's featuring our guest presenter, Diane Cameron, For more information, visit our website at albanyu.org. Also, our bridge group resumes Tuesday, August 10th from 1 to 3 p.m. here in room B8. No matter how many people come, everyone is fitted into play. All are welcome.